Listening discretion is advised. This podcast may contain graphic content, triggering themes, adult language, and unapologetic book spoilers. We don't hold back because real stories are gritty, raw, and worth telling. Your mental health matters. There is no shame in seeking help, support, or stepping away when you need to. This is Slow Burn, where we go deep, move slow, and let the fire speak.
Stories are written quietly. Others arrive with a line out the door, a stack of signed paperbacks, and readers who've been counting down the days. This June, Charleston becomes a meeting place for people who still believe books can wreck your sleep schedule, ruin your emotional stability, and somehow leave you begging for one more chapter. From dark romance to fantasy, from indie authors to new discoveries, Books in Charleston has become one of those events readers circle on the calendar long before summer even starts. And honestly, there's something beautiful about hundreds of people gathering in one room because they fall in love with words. Today, I've also got someone joining me in the co-host seat, Kelly. Kelly's an avid reader, fellow book lover, and someone who understands that just one more chapter is usually a lie. So today we're talking books, community, reader culture, and what happens when the people writing the stories create spaces for readers to find each other. This is Slow Burn, where we go deep, move slow, and let the fire speak. Please welcome Michelle, author and creator of Books in Charleston.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, hello. So now I know that you are an author, and I do believe you do not just stick with one genre, correct? You kind of dabble your toes a little here and there and everywhere.
Yes, I kind of write all of the different young adult, paranormal, romantasy, fantasy genres. I just kind of hit them all at once.
I love it. I love it. And I think that's what I love so much about the indie author industry is the fact that there appears to be so much more freedom in your writing where you don't seem to have somebody constantly telling you, no, you have to do it this way, or no, we have to have this way, or no, you have to make this 5 books instead of 3 books, or no, it seems like you have so much more control over your process when you are doing it yourself versus going the traditional publishing route.
Yeah, you don't have somebody kind of telling you how to change things or where they want things to go. I can write what I want to write. And obviously, I have editors who will, flesh out all of the errors and stuff that they find, but nobody's telling me how to write or what to write. That's all me. I get to be as creative as I want. And that's why I chose. I was traditionally published at first, but I switched everything over about a year or two ago. And now I'm strictly self.
Do you prefer your self-published versus your traditionally published?
Yeah, if I could do it all over again, I would have probably started out I mean, obviously I learned a lot through traditional publishing. And I will always appreciate those people for, giving me a start and trusting me and believing in me. But at the end of the day, writing is all about your own creative journey. And if you can't write it the way you want to write it, then kind of what's the point? So I write what I want to write. And if it doesn't sell, then that's on me. And if it does, then great. So
Time we talked. Sorry, my dogs have decided to play right now.
you just saw mine a second ago.
We were talking about my author friends um publishing nightmare through hybrid publishing. And
Yeah.
to uh to add to that, just to update that story, God, uh, she has now left said publisher, is now
Good.
on her own trying to finish the whole process because the books hadn't even started the printing process yet. So she's trying to still connect with the printer who had everything at the time. But in the process, I believe 3 authors left that specific publisher who also then decided that they were going to become a traditional publisher, not just a hybrid publisher. So it was a very interesting, just kept going kind of round and round story.
It's really having done this, I've been writing for 11 years, and I've seen the traditional, I've seen the hybrid, I've seen the vanity, and if they charge you a dime, then it's a scam. It's 100% a scam. If the publisher picks you up, you should not pay anything. The only time you should, as a writer, be paying anything is if you're like a self-published author, then everything up front is on us because we chose them. But if
Uh-huh.
you are trusting somebody else to publish your book, you should never spend a dime. If they are asking for any amount of money, it is 100% a scam unless you're ordering your books from them after they are set to go. And even then, it should only be, whatever the printing cost is. So $5 a book at, 10 at the most. So when we talked about this last time, it broke my heart. So I thought, oh, this poor girl, she's getting scammed, and you don't realize it at the time because you're so excited to have a published book. But
Well,
yeah, I'm glad she got out of it.
she purposely wanted hybrid publishing. She wanted somebody that she did the research, and that's what she really wanted. She wanted that hybrid piece so that someone else had some of the control in the pool, and someone else was working on the marketing, and someone else was working on the printing and things along those lines. Um, but but it obviously didn't turn out the way that she had expected. A friend of hers that she's known for about 10 years is also a writer. And then together, she's helping him create a hybrid um, company that is more what it should be, like going from the author's perspective, like this is what we would expect, this is what I thought I was signing up for, this is what that looks like. So it sounds like it's going to be a much better experience moving forward. It just makes me so sad. I know she said one of the authors who left also was a brand new author and had said that this whole experience has killed her joy of writing. And that just like sucks so much, that it was just such a awful experience. And I mean, I want to sit here and say, I don't know the person personally. So I want to sit and say that she started this with the best of intentions and just like went about what's the best way I can make money doing this kind of thing. Not hopefully did not go out and say what's the best way I can rip people off and like crush their dreams. My hope. And
Well, attending as many book signing events, not just hosting, but attending as, an author as well, you hear the horror stories and the nightmares from all the different authors. And, we've all been through some type of a bad situation in publishing. And, you just have to hope that it gets better. And hopefully for her, it gets better, this next round.
so let's talk about books in Charleston. I know that you have multiple. You have St. Louis, Arizona, Florida.
No, not
No,
Florida.
not
We
Florida.
have, let's see, St. Louis, Phoenix, Arizona. We have Denver, Colorado next month. We have Charleston this month. We have Lexington, Kentucky, which is like my home base here in Kentucky. Oh my gosh, what did I miss? And then in 2027, we have Los Angeles coming up, which I'm super excited about.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
What made you start this? What made you look at that and say, this is something that we're missing?
So two things, and I get to ask that question at every signing event that I hosted. It's so funny. So one, the first publisher that I was with, they actually threw a lot of book signing events, and one year, um, the main person who did all the organizing, she was pregnant. She needed some help, and I just kind of took on that role, and I really enjoyed it. But I never really thought this is something I would do by myself. I just enjoyed helping out and organizing and everything. Then come about a year later, and I won't say the event name, but there was an event that was probably one of the first scam artist events. This was back in 2016, I think. I was one of the authors that went down there to. It was in not St. Louis. It was in New Orleans, and we went down there, and it was pretty clear about 5 minutes months when the door opened that we had all been scammed. There was no marketing, there were no readers that showed up. Um, just nothing made sense. Anytime we asked a question about, well, how come nobody's coming in? You said you sold hundreds of tickets. Can you show us where you sold these tickets? There was always an excuse. Um, I think at the end of the day, by the time I paid for travel, the hotel room, my books, the table, I was out probably $2,000. And I drove. So the authors who had to fly and ship everything in, some of them were out two, three, $4,000. Um, and when I remember calling the hotel and asking, because she blamed the hotel and saying, "Why didn't you let all these readers in?" And they said, "We have no idea what you're talking about." I had to pay full price for my hotel room, finds out later because I was told, "Oh, the room block is sold out." Found out there was never a room block. Like, it was just like one turnover after another. And I remember just thinking, okay, I could do better than this. I could charge way less for tables. I did my research. It took me about a year, but I researched hotels and events and, cost and how much I would need to charge just to break even. I didn't even want to make a dime. I'll sell my own books at, the event, and that's how I'll make my profit. And it took me about a year of just kind of marketing and research and talking to other event organizers. And I just thought, I'm going to do this because it's not fair that people can get scammed. And, we put our trust in this. And I had a lot of the authors who were at that event. I think some of them have come to some of my events since then, but it was kind of like a wake up call, for me, because I thought, I want to do this. And I also wanted to do it because, and I'm sure a lot of indie authors will relate to this. You've been stuck in the small, you're not the big name author, so you pay the same price as everybody else, for your table and hotel, but you're stuck in, it's like the non cool kids room, that nobody knows we're in there. And all the big name authors get put in the beautiful big room where all the readers go to. And I just thought, I'm going to put on an event. I'm not going to scam anybody. And I'm going to put everybody together because we're all in this. It's like we're all in this together. We're all in this for a love of books. And I just wanted to make sure that nobody else got screwed over or felt like they weren't good enough. And so that's what I do. Like in my events, we are all together. And I might put a author who just published their first book next to somebody who's published their 100th book. It's all about marketing and learning from one another and being supportive. I think that's what's kept my events going now for 10 years is I keep my prices affordable. I don't overcharge for anything. I don't make anything off the events other than what I take to sell. And I don't make anybody feel like they're less than because I had that and I hated that feeling. It made me, it made you not want to do that anymore.
Well, and
So sorry,
yours,
that was a very long-winded
no,
answer.
you're good. And yours are also special in the fact that you go from children's books all the way to like smutty, like behind closed doors books, right? So you have something for everyone at your event, where at a lot of events, it's very singular to we're going to go to like this romance event, we're going to go to this romantasy event, we're going to go to this fantasy event, we're going to this sci-fi event, whereas you collectively seem to have just a little bit of everything and a little bit of everyone, um, which
Yeah,
makes
I
it
found that
much
at
more
these events.
welcoming.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna say, I found at these events, a lot of the times these readers come in groups with their friends, or I love the mom groups, like the daughter and the mom and their kids, but I love just seeing these groups of friends because none of them really have the same taste. A lot of them will say, "Well, hey, this table's for you. That's mafia romance," or then they'll go to the next table. "Hey, this one's more for you. This is cowboy romance," or "This one's mystery," or whatever. And, I don't want to just narrow it down to one genre because a lot of us don't just read one genre. We all have eclectic taste. But I found that my readers that come in groups or pairs, they all don't have the same taste. So I want to make sure that there's something for everybody when they come.
So I find that it's so important that we have this beautiful readers community that we have created. Um, and now with the good and the bad of social media, where we all have instant access to each other,
Mhm.
Um, wh- how do I want to word this? Why do we feel like it's still so important that we still have these moments to have face to face with people, right? Like these in person, like, because so much I saw the other day somebody was promoting a book convention that was all virtual. And for whatever reason it sounded less appealing. Now maybe because I don't ever leave my house, right? Like because when I go to these things, I'm like, oh, I get to leave, I get to do something, and I get to be with grown-ups. Um, but where why do you think that we need these in person? Because I feel like we've lost touch with that, especially as like social media keeps growing and now there's threads and there was X and back in my day there was MySpace and all the AOL chat rooms and all the like all the things like where I love technology to an extent, like, I also feel like it's taking away that, humanistic piece of things.
The in-person events bring they really bring the book community, and that's what we are. We are a very small. It seems large, but it's really a small community. I think it really brings everybody together because some of us don't know where to look for marketing, or we don't know where to look for a new editor or a new cover designer. And every event that I go to, whether again it's one I host or one I'm just attending as an author myself, I find a new marketing tip that I never knew of. I find a new site, I find a new editor, I find a new cover designer, a new PA. You find so much because you're forced to talk to people around you. And I'm somewhat of an introvert for the most part. I don't feel comfortable just, being in the spotlight and talking to people, but it does push you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And I always tell authors, people think if you don't sell out, the event was not successful. And for those of us that have been doing this for a long time, we can say, hey, if you sell your books, that's great. But at the end of the day, it's the networking that you do, that face to face that you do with your kind of like your colleagues. We learn from one another, we give each other advice, we learn, maybe who to steer clear from, or hey, this is a great new brand, you need to check this out. And it's also good, I think, for us to meet the readers face to face. Sometimes I think it helps them to put a face, like a real person behind the name that they're reading. I know there's been some authors that I've kind of maybe looked at their book cover and it didn't draw me in, but after meeting them and just seeing how cool they were, I've went and downloaded everything they ever written because I just thought they were I've met several authors that way that I was like, that's the coolest person I've ever met. Like, I want to read everything this person's write. But had I had just looked at their book cover online, it may not have drawn me in and I never would have read anything. So I think it's that just that personal touch that you just can't get online.
Can go the other way too. I know someone who had a table at a book event near another author and had, had some interactions with them before, but like nothing crazy, but then saw them interact with humans and they were like, ick.
I've
No,
had that too. Yes,
never
there
mind.
have been
I thought
yes.
this was great, but never mind.
Oh, yeah, there's one, and I will never say this author's name, but it was at a big, book convention that used to take place. They no longer do it anymore, a couple of years ago, but I just loved her. I loved everything she wrote. I fangirled. I was so pumped. Like, I didn't even care if I was even, like, have my one book at my table. I could care less. I wanted to meet this person, and I saw how they talked to their fans and the volunteers at this event, and I just remember, like, standing in line with my book, so excited to meet them, and
Oh
my husband was
no.
watching my table because I was just that's why I was there. I was going to meet this author. And I didn't even go up and end up meeting her because I just walked away because it just broke my heart. And I remember going back and almost being in tears, like I felt so let down because I love this person. But when you hear the way that some people talk to other people,
Mhm.
it just turns you off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So disheartening to hear too, considering when you find an author you love, it's their words and
Hmm.
that
mhm.
you're falling in love with, which is a part of them. So you assume by nature, right, that that's an extension of who they are and how they are. As
Hmm.
I've found that most authors say that a part of themselves is in the characters that they're creating. And, and so it like, how disheartening to then go to that and then be like, what a lie. Like, what a
These are
sham.
the people
Like,
that are paying your bills. They're buying your books. This is who's paying your bills, and you're gonna talk to them like that. Like it just broke my heart. It is disheartening, but there's that ugly side of it, and I think again, as negative as this sounds, that's also important for readers. I think to see
Mhm.
like maybe the person you're idolizing isn't as great as who you thought they were.
Or you find out the
I
company
I
they
think,
keep too, of like who they're close
yeah.
with and if they're not perfectly like that's something that I ran into of like hearing some things of like,
Mhm.
okay, I can be pretty open-minded and yeah, maybe everything's not what it seems to be online. And then you get to know somebody who knows somebody and you're hearing what that person
Mhm.
knows about that one, and you're like, I gave you the benefit of the doubt and I tried, but yuck.
Yes. And
Ick.
on
That's
the
so
flip
gross.
side, yes, and on the flip side of that, social media, especially in the book community lately, has become so just negative and toxic, and everybody's after everybody. And I think that can just drive readers and authors away. And I think that makes it even more important that we do these in-person events because we got to get away from the keyboard warriors and the people who are just ready to just destroy someone's career for nothing. And let them meet these people because we are humans, we are real people, and I think it can help sever what has been lost in the book community when we all get to come together.
I don't feel like people who do that, and Kelly and I had this conversation the other day, just between the two of us, that people who are doing those things are actually part of the book community. Because
Oh yeah.
from what we've found, separately, because we've just recently connected, but we have very similar, like, uh, stories that have aligned, is that it's always been such a beautiful, welcoming, supportive community that is full of healing, and it's just going to be a thing. Trust, and
They want to help.
who always wants to be the co-host. She's the worst. If there's
I'm
not
I'm
an
I'm
episode
applying
where
for that job, girlfriend. So can you just move it? I can't compete with a dog. I can't. I can't.
yes,
So
She a
I
like
know. I'm
boxer?
telling you.
she's way cuter
Is she
than
a
me. I
boxer?
can't do this.
Another you.
Holy jeez, Louise. Okay, if she hasn't like interrupted an episode, it's not an episode. Is really what it boils down to. So, but we have found that like it's always been such a healing and beautiful community that these people who are trying to make it an ugly community
Mhm.
are not part of us. Like in the end.
Mhm.
Uh, and I know
And
like the big hot topic right now is this whole stupid trademark nonsense.
my
And
gosh,
She put a
yes.
video out and I didn't have time to watch it. Jamie sent it to us in
did
our
she?
OF group chat
Okay.
thing, and
I'll have to look at
I
it.
was gonna watch it, and then we started doing this like while we were talking before Michelle came on. And I was like, oh damn, and she didn't have. Her comments are open. Unlike the other ones, unlike every other video or every other post where she had them
Yeah.
restricted, these are open. And the first one underneath is like, I can't believe people are coming after you like this, whatever. Like, honey, you started it though. Like you took a word, a phrase, a common phrase, tried to make it so only you can use it, and then lied about it on your paperwork saying you've been using it since 2021, but you've only been a thing as far as a business since 2023. Like you didn't think anybody was going to use their eyeball. Like it's a book we read. You don't think anybody was going to read it and figure it out? Like,
I
come
just
on,
don't know
babe.
how it's going to be trademarked because that has been something that is used for, like you said, for years and years. That has been a saying. So
Right.
how you can trademark something that you didn't come up with, I don't know how that's going to work. Um, I 100% get it. I have used that phrase on things that I've sold. I've used it in my books. I've used it in advertising because up until now, it's been something that who knows where it came from at this point.
Right.
Um, but on the flip side of that, I hate the bullying. I really do. Like I hate just we're going to cancel this person.
Hmm.
I don't want to see somebody mental
Right.
health is a real issue. And I don't want to see somebody get their life destroyed over something like this. But at the same time, people do need to be held accountable. Like, I can't wake up tomorrow and say I'm going to trademark book boyfriend. I don't know.
Somebody's
Apparently
already
somebody's
doing that
trying
one.
to do that. Yeah, someone's
I
trying to
know.
do
That's
that
why I
too.
used that
Yeah,
when I
Yeah.
saw that. But I'm like, you just can't wake up one day and decide to trademark something you didn't come up with. Like, the whole
I
point of
think
a trademark is because you created it. It's to copyright it.
well, and
But
my understanding is that it is to you trademark it because it is what your business is and was created to be and become. So not that Slow Burn podcast is like there's 100 different Slow Burn podcasts, but if I was the only one at the time that this came out and this is my entire identity for the show,
Mhm.
that's one thing. There's somebody, I think the list I saw yesterday is somebody is trying to get bookmark. Somebody is trying to do the blind date with a book.
I can't understand
Somebody's
it.
trying to do book boyfriend. Um, all the
Oh, no.
and it's all the things. And this is what I don't understand because to me, that is now commercializing this beautiful community that we have created here because everybody is allowed to win.
Mhm.
Well, and you're
Because
also taking everyday vernacular that people in this community use and all of a sudden trying to take it and monetize it just for you and
Mhm.
monopolize it. So not only monetizing it, but you're monopolizing it that only you can use it. And being so specific into what instances potentially other people could use it in the hot girls read thing. Again, in the year of our Lord Pedro Pascal 2026, you are trying to say that it's only girls who read. I am on rep teams.
Yeah.
There are men in those rep teams. They are not creepy men. They're wonderful men. They are out there. There are the predatory, like, let me just stand here and read with a motorcycle helmet on in Barnes and Nobles and see what I can, it's like fishing. But like, there are it's not just girls. And also, I'm 37. I'm not a girl anymore. My daughter's 10. She's a girl. I don't want to think of that as being a hot thing. Ew. Again, in the
Yeah.
year that we live in, of what's been going on and how many icky things, it shouldn't be so specific like that of like, and why does it have to be that way? Why is it so icky? Why can't you just leave it alone? You were selling your hot girl read stuff and you were doing fine. Everybody else was
Mhm.
doing their hot girl reads thing and everybody else was doing fine. But like, then you have instances and records of people coming forward when her post or her story said, I'm not going to come after anybody, just like, maybe please don't. She was going after people and saying messages in Etsy shops of like, help, you need to take this down now. So you're lying again. Like, no one should be bullied for it, but you can't be mean either. Like, you can't start it
Yeah.
too. Like, you shouldn't be bullying them. They shouldn't be bullying you. Like, we're all supposed to be adults. You're not supposed to be reading this shit if you're under the age of 18. So you're supposed to be an adult. Could you maybe act a little bit like one? Might help.
The problem that we're seeing is that people can't dish it and they can't take it, and then some people don't know how to appropriately respond to it, and so it just this monster, and then I feel like it makes the whole book world look just so ugly,
It makes it look
you
very
know?
catty, very,
Very catty and very
very bitchy.
immature.
Yes.
Yes. And that's not what we are. We are authors and readers and, I mean, you guys we're podcasters and we're PAs and we're editors. There's all these people that are entwined into this one group, and you forget about all those other entities. All you think about is that negative situation. And that's what we got to get away from.
so recently on our social media for Slow Burn, I actually posted a carousel about the trademarking, and it wasn't even about the one phrase. It's about
Mhm.
what happens when community language becomes valuable and not whether the language can be owned, but who gets excluded when it is.
Mhm.
Because all these small businesses, these independent businesses, which is again the foundation of Slow Burn, is anyone independently trying to be more and grow more and do more on their own without, you know, big business behind them, whether you're an author, an artist, a musician, however that works. So when we start assigning ownership to things, ownership starts to change the behavior of people.
Mhm.
When that behavior changes, right, then our community is no longer a community, we've become property. But at what point do we have somebody who made that decision? And
Yeah.
again,
I mean, I think sorry.
no, go ahead.
Was gonna say, I think about all the vendors that attend my book signing events who are selling merchandise with that phrase on it, and are they not gonna be able to? Like, what's gonna happen to them? Are they gonna get in trouble? I mean, that's how they make their living, and I don't wanna ruin somebody's career because of something like this.
Right.
And they've probably already had it made and
Yeah.
prepared and whatever for months, and well knowing that
Yeah.
they were going to come to something like this of
Mhm.
okay, they had to have it either already sent to where it's going to be, or they have it and they're bringing it. So what are they supposed to do with that? What do
I
they
mean, we're
do with
12
it?
days away from my Charleston event, and I think, well, are those people afraid now to bring their items? Like, what are they supposed to do? And that's
I'm
not what
sure
you
they are
want.
afraid. There was someone on Threads who was like, "I made this and it didn't like the Hot Girls Read thing was the list of what it counted for and what she was trademarking for was super specific of like the stickers, the bookmarks, the whatever. Which the irony of her taking someone else's licensed property and making her own stuff, but they'll still trying to go after like that was hysterical. But like people it didn't keychains weren't on there. They were but people were like, "Can I still sell a key?" It says Hot Girls Read on it, but then that's she's saying she trademarked it, but the keychain isn't on the list. Can I get in trouble for that? And like not everybody who is a small business can afford the lawyers and the consultations with lawyers
No.
and stuff like that to ask these kinds of questions. Trademark and patent lawyers are not cheap. One of my best friends from college, she's an attorney, she's a real estate attorney, and she's done stuff for us when we've bought houses and did estate planning for my parents and stuff, but like I know what she charges the real people, and holy hell, like
Mhm.
just to ask a
I
question sometimes it's insane.
Yeah.
I know a publishing lawyer, just on the publishing side, knowing my friend going through like her publishing woes, they can charge 800 to 1,000 an hour
Mhm.
to help
Easily.
with.
And
Yeah,
we're called small businesses for a reason. We
Right.
are not we're not this huge corporation that can afford to have an attorney on retainer. And so, we just have to get away from this mean girl, I'm better than you kind of mentality, and it's got to get back to let's help each other out because that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Well,
and I
that's what
just
it's
want to
supposed to
be.
be like, right? Like if we're
Hmm. Yeah.
employing or reaching out to like readers and bookstagrammers and stuff like that of like that's what it's supposed to be. And I know it said it's supposed to be a little all inclusive kind of thing of talking about we have guys and certain rep teams, but like a girls girl kind of thing of like you know because women have been shit on and are shitting on each other for so long, this was supposed to be a little area that we were supposed to be able to pump each other's tires and fix that kind of mean girl energy that you get in every other facet of your life. Well, now it's
Hmm.
leaking in here, and it's not supposed to be here. It doesn't belong in here.
And so I wish that we could somehow go back to, how it was in the early stages of this whole book world when everything really started to kind of pop off in a good way. 2015, 2016, that's when events and this author community really, I feel like, kind of started to come together. And it was such a fun time. And there really wasn't this mean girl side of things. It was such a supportive community, and we've got to go back to that. There wasn't this witch hunt on do they use AI, do they not? Or I'm going to steal this trademark, or I'm going to, I see that everybody's creating book events. I'm going to create a book event, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. And now I'm going to scam all these authors. And it just needs to go back to that kind of feeling, because like I said earlier, when I first decided to start book signing events, I didn't just do it overnight. I spent a year marketing, researching, getting advice from other organizers. I tested the waters by trying it out under somebody else first. And, I went into it with good intentions, not saying that everybody's who's failed didn't go into it with good intentions, but we've lost the sense of helping and community and just what fun it used to be, and that's what I want to see come back. And that's what I hope people experience when they come to my book signing events is I don't want anybody to worry about trademarks. I don't want anybody to worry about who's bullying who or who's talking about who. I just want people to come together in an inclusive environment, and I don't care religion, we don't care anything at all. Just come together, let's celebrate books, and that's all we need to talk about is books. We can all have different opinions on every aspect of our lives and still come together for one solid thing and have a friendship. And I think that's what we are missing. And for those of us who've been writing for 10 plus years, that's how we came into this. And I think that's what we're still looking for. And these new, newer authors, and I keep wanting to say the youngins because they're not all young, but the newer ones, I hate that this is what their first experience is like because that's not what it's like.
Yeah. I think the book world is its own culture, right? Like you go into
Yeah.
certain neighborhoods and you have these cultures. But at some point in time, somewhere along the line, someone realized that this culture could start to become property and be monetized.
Hmm.
But the problem is they made these decisions on their own and there wasn't this collective conversation where everyone was invited in,
Hmm.
right? So now you have certain people trying to own a culture where cultures are there. And when you look at any culture throughout like history, right? Or neighborhoods or anything that's going on, they are there and they're supporting each other and they're lifting each other up and they may hate everyone else in their city, but that particular neighborhood has created their
Yeah.
culture of people. And that's something I found doing social work, right? Like I was going into some of the like my mother says I'm never allowed to tell my grandmother the things that I've seen and the places I have been because I was home visiting. So I was in the homes of but those neighborhoods are beautiful places in the fact that they have created their own culture and they are there for each other no matter what. And by extension, I was then put into this culture, right? Where I had dads who would come into the home visiting um, sessions and be like, you don't go out to your car without me. You don't come in the house without me. They need to see you with me so that they know you belong to me. And like but it was to put myself in a safe position within their culture. And And I think that that's how I look at the book community, where we have created such a beautiful culture, but then someone decided that they could monetize it. And I feel like that's honestly where everything hits, like the shit hits the fan every time. As soon as somebody decides they can make money from something. And And right now, what it seems like, and I'm not talking about the books. I want people to make money off the books. I want people to make money off the audio and the art and the things like that. What I'm talking about is now people coming in and trying to make money off of phrases we all use or activities we do or,
Yeah, something that's been around for 10 plus years.
right.
You can't do that.
And I think that's the part that's so sad that I But again, I go back to what I had said about the publisher too. I hope in my heart of hearts that no one went into it thinking I'm going to screw every small business over, you know, all across the globe by doing this. I'm hoping that the thought process was, oh, 95% of my materials that sell are this. I want to make sure that I have license over this and then just went about it a really wrong way because I think that I could go to a book event and I could buy a Hot Girl Reads bookmark from 8 different tables and love all 8 of them. And everybody got $1.25, right? Like,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, that's what I love is I mean, there's gonna be so many different book of vendors at my event coming up and they're all gonna probably have, the similar bookish items that everybody loves. But like you said, it's gonna be their own creative spin on it, and that's what we need to be looking at. And I just want to make sure that everybody
Yeah.
knows that they're supported, you
Yeah.
know?
And we had this conversation the last time it stormed and we were unable to upload our interview when we talked about AI and the same issue with AI. I know authors that are vehemently against AI
Mhm.
and will like dissect covers or refuse to speak to people because they have a brand new business and they didn't know what to do. So they created a flyer using AI. And then they're like, oh, sorry, nobody's going to come talk to you because you used AI. And I'm like, but that's so unkind. Like, show them that there's other ways to do it. Show them that there's ways that AI can support you in creating what you want to create in these, documents or in these programs so that it's not creating it for you. You're still creating it. But if you need help, because I can't look at a blank piece of paper and create something, like I need bones to start with from somewhere too. So,
And
I mean, it's the same as you went to a book event first, right? Like we all have to get the bones from somewhere.
yeah, and I think that's what I like. We talked about that sense of like networking and helping one another at in-person events. You can talk to somebody and say, "Hey, I need to know an affordable graphic designer. Here's what I can afford." And people can put you in the right direction. Now, I've been writing, oh my gosh, this is now 11 years. I think I've been published. I've been writing all my life, but I've been published for, I think, 11 years now. And AI wasn't a thing, when I first started publishing. And so, we had to fight to get cover designers and graphic artists. And I mean, I look back at some of the event flyers that I created on like PicMonkey and Canva. And I mean, I'm like, oh Lord, because I am not creative in that sense at all. I can write, but I cannot come up with anything like beautifully, anything like that. I cannot do any graphic design. But I met graphic design artists. I met people who could do those things for me. And so when we don't want people to turn to AI. That's not what you want because essentially it does steal that content from other designers and stuff. And I think instead of bashing people like I'm seeing right now and we're accusing every single person of AI, maybe start a conversation. Hey, you know, privately. Maybe message somebody, hey, this looks like it could have possibly been AI. If it is, why don't you try this designer? They're affordable, or try this person, or hey, you could PicMonkey has a free option, Canva has a free option. Lead people in the right direction, educate them on the environmental negative factors that AI can do and lead them to the right direction rather than we're canceling you. I've seen people say you need to die. I've seen people tell people that they're canceling them, that nobody should ever buy their stuff again. And, a lot of these people are just brand new and they're starting out and they don't know where else what to do. And so we have to educate them and lead them in the right direction, but not in a bullying sense. And I had somebody come after my last event because there was somebody who, and I'll be honest, I didn't even see the graphic until they showed it to me. And it wasn't even tailored to my event. A different vendor used a graphic on their personal TikTok. I do not have time to sort through everybody's TikToks, especially their personal one, not even connected to
Right.
their thing. And she was trying to get my event canceled, me canceled, and all I had to say was, well, let's ask questions. We don't know if this person uses AI. And if they do, let's educate them. Let's not, the teacher in me, because I'm a teacher, that's what I do. I am trained in my profession to not allow people to bully other people. And so when I see adults doing it, I'm like, did we not learn anything when we are growing up? When we were in school ourselves, I mean, most of us have children. Like, do we not know these things? And so, again, I don't like AI. I will never be one of those pro AI people because I know that it does steal from people like me who've been writing for years and years and years. But at the same time, I'm not going to destroy somebody's life because they're doing something that I don't like. I will have a conversation, I'll educate, I'll help, I'll lead you to whoever you need to go to. But it's that just quick to jump and bully people, and but you don't see that at these book signing events because you're forced to be face to face with people. And most people who are attacking these people online are not going to do it to their face. That's why they're keyboard warriors. They're doing it behind a screen. There's no face to their name. and it's safer that way for them. And
Honestly,
so,
a
come
really
to these
good
events, come to my event, let's talk, you know?
yeah, a really good graphic designer, I couldn't tell you the difference between them and AI, and I'm sure that that would hurt somebody's feelings, like, hardcore, but, like, I I honestly don't know. Like, I mean, good is good, right? Like, and I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you what makes it one versus the other. Here, go get your
Argument of, well, it's so expensive to find a good graphic designer. And yes and no. I have certain graphic designers that I've used on some of my covers that I think I've spent maybe $20 on one of their covers because they have great deals and they have great sales. I've also, and I'm ashamed to admit this, I've spent $800 on a cover image before. And there is a wide range. And if you can afford to probably pay for like an AI service, you can afford to pay a graphic designer $20 for a cover. So I see both sides, but again, it's all about having those conversations and educating people on it, and instead of just automatically condemning them. Some people just don't know, especially if they're starting out, and that's why
Yeah.
we got to help them.
So how do you choose what authors and vendors come to your events? Do they find you? Do you seek them out?
Both. So, I just post the forms and and people sign up, and I do vet through some of them. Um, I've had some people who have signed up and they you can tell that they really don't know what they've done. Their books are riddled with mistakes and errors. Their covers aren't, really that great. I'm not going to take your table fee and then watch you sit there and not sell anything, because that's not what this is. That if I was selfish and only cared about making a profit, then yeah, I would just take everybody. But I don't take I've only, I think, denied 3 in the 10 years that I've ever hosted these events. Just because I looked at their stuff, there was no Amazon presence, there was no, social media presence, and it was very clear that their books were not gonna sell, and I don't wanna say that in a mean sense. Um,
Right.
But it wouldn't have been profitable for them, and it wouldn't have really been helpful either. But I think, yeah, maybe 3 in 10 years I've ever declined. But, there's some authors that I will send invitations to. I know, especially, like, if they're local to that, like, I try to look at the local authors and reach out to all them as well. But, I mean, we have people coming from all over. I had somebody, last year at our Phoenix event came from, London, and it was really cool. Like, they'd never been, they brought their kids, it was really neat.
I love that.
Yeah.
um, who are you most looking forward to being in Charleston on the 20th?
Oh my gosh, that's hard.
I know
I
you
don't
had
know.
such an extensive list.
We've got so many really cool authors and readers. I think a lot of the people that are coming have been to a lot of my other events, especially like in the South, Kentucky and St. Louis and all that. I think I'm just excited to meet the ones that I've never met before, but I always download everybody's books if they have them available, like on KU, just as a support system to try to see what they write. And I'm just excited to meet the ones who I've never read before, never, met in person. Um, yeah, I like meeting all these new authors and picking their brains.
I love that. Okay, so you have over 100 authors and vendors for Books in Charleston on June 20th.
Just we only have 50 for Charleston. This one's
50,
not like the Denver
50 for
one. The Denver
Charleston.
one will be up around 100.
Okay. Okay. I don't want to misinform people. So, yeah. So then you have Books in Denver, July 25th.
Mhm.
Then you have Lexington, September
I was
12th.
losing you.
Does that sound right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
What is that? September
And
12th
then
is
Phoenix.
Lexington.
Uh-huh.
Is the September 26th.
That one is
And
Phoenix. Mhm.
then, yeah. And then October 17th is St. Louis.
Yep, and that's
Is
kind
that
of the
all
end
of
of the
them?
year for
Or,
that, and then we'll start
yeah.
back up again in Los Angeles the following summer.
Yeah. And then do you go back to the same places every time, or do you look for new cities every time to kind of spread out?
Have my 3 main, like, hubs, I feel like, Lexington, St. Louis, and Phoenix are kind of like my top 3, And then my other 2 to 3 events that I host, I really go where the readers and authors ask me to. Like when we did Santa Fe, this past year, that really wasn't something I'd really thought about. But I had a lot of authors and readers reach out to me and they were like, "Hey, would you come to Santa Fe?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll try. We'll try it out." And it was a great event. Like we had, it was a very small event. My first ones in a new city are always smaller. Um, but the readers who came to that event came to buy books, let me tell you. They wiped us all out, and it was wonderful.
As
Good
someone who
though.
lived
I
in New
mean, I
Mexico
think
for
if you're
6 years, I get it.
It was really cool. I mean, I'd never been there before, so even, like, as somebody traveling there, it was really cool to see the culture there and just how different it is, and it was so nice. We've been asked, if we're coming back again, and I'm considering it for 2027. But I'm always open to new places. Wherever they want us to go is where we'll go.
Santa Fe is a very interesting place, yeah.
It was very interesting, yes. I loved it though. It was really cool.
side of your home of Kentucky, what is your, and then you have your major hubs. Do you have like a specific place you are hoping you get to at some point, that you would, that you think would like that's on your bucket list of places you would like to visit? So this is a great.
Yes. So there's a couple, and it's hard to kind of pinpoint, but I know there's when I say New York, I'm not talking about like New York City, but I would love to go up near Sleepy Hollow. And I know I've seen talks of an event already. So I try to steer clear of places where there's already established events. Because I don't want to step on toes. Because I've had people currently doing it now step on the toes of the cities that I'm in, and you don't want to oversaturate that environment. But I know another place that I'm really kind of looking at is heading down towards like Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been toying with that one for about a year or two. My husband's family is from there, and I think there's a big reader base down south that we just don't always get to hit. There's so many events in like Florida, but I don't know if people always think of like Louisiana as that kind of a place. So I'm toying with that idea.
Like, have you been to NOLA? I love New Orleans.
Yes, that is where that one event that I was talking about, where we got scammed in like 2016, I think it was. Yeah, and it was during Mardi Gras, so the prices on everything were already hiked up anyways. So that made it a little bit worse. But yeah, I've wanted to come back, but I know there's some really great book signing events that take place in New Orleans, that I want to jump on as an author myself. So I don't know if I would ever touch that unless they like stop going there. Because they're pretty established events, and they have their loyal people. So I would never want to mess with that.
But
I
okay.
do want to show. I just got these out. My son just brought these in. These are the Books in Charleston VIP bags that people will get. All the VIP readers,
I
they're
like that.
$20, and I just got these in, and they're huge.
That's
They're
cute.
really big, but I
If
love
I
the
ever
color. He
came
just
I
home
brought
love
with
them
a
the
in here.
bag like that, my husband would kill me because we have a bag. We have like growing up as a millennial, you had the plastic bag inception going on like under
Oh
your
yes,
kitchen counter. We now have reusable bag inception in a closet upstairs, and every time I come home with something like that, he's like, it's like I might as
yep,
well come home with another hoodie. I get the same
yes.
grumpy face of like, what is that doing in this house? But I'm like, but it's almost like a girl being like, but it has pockets. But like, look at it. Like it's
Yes, they're
look
so
how big it
cool.
is. Like, like come
I
on, man.
always make sure I order one for myself. My husband's like, "Why do you have all of these bags that
I
you don't use?" And
just
I'm like, "I just need them." Like, I don't know. I always make sure I get one. But I
yes,
stuff those. We have either signed paperbacks or free ebook codes. So everybody who gets a VIP bag leaves with some type of a free book. There's all kinds of cool swag in there, stickers, everything. So, and the tickets are $20. So, I mean, for $20, you get an hour early admission to the event. You get this really cool bag, you get a free book, and all kinds of other free goodies. Everybody gets to go home with something.
that's awesome.
love it.
I wish it was closer.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, you had to head this way.
Hopefully soon. I know there's some really cool events. I've done the Getting Witchy with It in Salem event up there, and
Yep.
that's a really good event.
Yeah, that one got that one's
Hosting it.
a bunch. Like almost everybody dropped out after some stuff
Oh.
came out about the organizer or something, and
Oh.
people, yeah, that one was, which I had people who I met at Sinners and Stardust from being from Massachusetts and whatever, and people were were talking about how they went to Getting Witchy with it, and then they put like the address of where it was, and I was like, y'all weren't in Salem though, you were in Peabody.
Yeah.
You guys were in Peabody for most of it, so I'm so sorry. The coolest thing I remember about Peabody from when in college is they had a Sonic, and we don't usually have those up here. So like that was the big draw there. So people were kind of upset that they thought like from out of state that thought they were going to be in Salem for like most of the time.
Yeah.
I guess you weren't. And I was
Because
like,
it's super small. Salem is tiny.
Salem is
Yeah.
very tiny. Of like you blink and you've missed it. Um
Yes.
and where like you walk around and where you do stuff is if again you walk down and back, and if you don't know what you're looking for specifically, like I had a friend
Mhm.
come visit and she had a list of things that she wanted to go and find in Salem of the Hocus Pocus houses,
Mhm.
and we ended up as a joke now to her now ex-husband, we went to the Satanic Temple and we were like, we're gonna get married. I'm like, I'm already married. She like whatever, of like, you know what, I'm we're wifeys now, that's it. Of like we walked in together, we walked out together, like ta-da of but she had a list of things she wanted to do, and if you don't have that, you're kind of like lost of like, okay, here's where they buried all the witches, or like the different things of specific things to look for. There's not a whole lot that's just like screaming out at you of like
Yeah.
what to do unless you know what you're looking for. But it is a very cool, it's beautiful up there.
Yes. I've
Um
been twice. I would like to go during the summer. I've always been both in the fall, but you brought up a great thing too about going to all these different book signing events. Bring a list of places you want to see. Like, do some exploring while you're there. Cause, a lot of people, when they come in, they just come in for the book event and they don't get to see the other side of the city. So I'm always like, do your research. And like, I always try to like tell people about some really cool places, especially for the local ones that I know of. But yeah, go and be an explorer for a little bit. Check it out. Cause, you may never come back, but, it's really cool to kind of see a new city and a new environment.
yeah,
You need to
definitely.
get them to do like a digital scavenger hunt as part of like their vendor package. Like they have like this list of things they need to go like take pictures and
Great
tag you in
idea.
on Instagram so that they go around and see all like the
Oh.
local pieces of that are
We did a ghost tour with several of the authors in we did that in St. Louis, not this past year, but the year before. And that was a lot of fun. Like readers and authors could sign up to go on it. And we had like a tour guide and everything, and that was super cool. But I like the idea of like a little scavenger hunt. I might look at doing something really quick about that for maybe Charleston or maybe my next event. So I love that.
yeah. I just think those are fun because then it gets you all around and then they're taking pictures and tagging your event in it. And then I need
Yeah.
everybody to know I'm sitting on the back of the couch and they're still trying to climb up here. So as as we know, I end the show with a very like unhinged off the wall question. So today's question is, what's the most unhinged thing you've ever done because of a book?
Oh, because of a book.
Because of
One
a
that
book.
I've written or one I've read?
Either way, the most unhinged thing you've ever done because of a book.
Okay. Yeah, this one's kind of crazy. I went to two separate states and cities because I wanted to see where the characters lived because they were one in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I scheduled a family vacation. I was that selfish. I scheduled a family vacation so I could see both.
I love that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Too funny.
What is the
There.
It was really fun. Actually,
Um,
can
go
can
ahead.
I add one to that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I got one even better. So my grandfather, sorry, it's gonna take a second. So my grandfather was in the army back in the day. Okay, And so he has always talked about wanting to go back to Richland, Washington State, like way across the country from where I live. And one fall break, because I'm a teacher, my kids were little. I think they were like 7 and 4. And he and I were kind of talking about it. And he was like, "Well, you're on break. Let's go." So we just literally sat down at my kitchen table, ordered plane tickets, and the next day flew to Washington State. And I said, "You know what I really want to come here for?" And he goes, "What?" And I said, "I want to go to Fort Washington and see the Twilight stuff." He did not know what Twilight was. He's, 90 years old. And so we go to Richland, and then he rented a car so that we could drive all the way to Forks. I mean, we went to Seattle, we got on the ferry, we drove all the way through with my little 7 and 4 year old in tow. My husband couldn't make it, just the four of us, my grandfather and my kids. And we spent 2 days in Forks, Washington, and I talked so much about the book, the movies, the characters, that my grandfather went out and bought the books and watched the movies. He has read all 4 books and watched all 4 movies. That, I have to say, that's probably the most unhinged thing I've ever done. And then I made my husband go back the year after. Because then he was like, "Well, this sounds really cool. I want to see it." And I was like, "Guess what? We're going again." So we did it again.
Surprise.
But yeah, I love to say that now that my 90-year-old grandfather has read all of the Twilights and watched all the movies because of that.
Makes my heart so happy. Mine is just that I became a Red Sox fan.
Oh, so that's why when the other day when you said something about being a Red Sox fan, when did you read this book, by the way? What year was this?
Ooh, 2010?
Oh, that's why.
Ooh, what book?
The Black Dagger Brotherhood.
Ooh, okay.
So
It's a series of books, and Vicious, who is the 5th book, his favorite team, as well as Butch, who's the 4th book, are the Red Sox, and V is my favorite character. And so it just it started out as a joke and then turned into like an actual supportive love of Boston.
So that's why when I said the other day, when you said something about it being a Red Sox fan, and I said, "Oh, one of God's most pathetic creatures," you didn't know what I was talking about, because there's lore here of an 86-year curse. The Red Sox didn't win a World Series for 86 years because they sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees. So
yes.
so the ownership of the Red Sox at the time could produce a play that bombed. So it was totally worth it. 86 years it took for them to be to break this curse. And every year for 86 years, we got our hearts broken. So there's a movie with Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore called Fever Pitch.
Yes.
And in the beginning, they talk about God's most pathetic creatures, Red Sox fans, because we are the only people who will hand you our heart with a smile on their face and watch you stomp it and crack it and break the shit out of it and still come back the next year going, no, we could really do it. We could actually do this.
Time. Yeah.
86. So it is so bad. My grandfather is one of 8 people who was not a member of the grounds crew to have his ashes put in the warning track at Fenway Park. We got special permission from Larry Lucchino after my grandfather died, to put his ashes there. So the year that we did that was 2003, where the Yankees were my daddy, were Pedro Pet, were Aaron fucking Boone. So it was Bucky fucking Dent, Bill fucking Buckner, Aaron fucking Boone, and that, like, Aaron Boone is who homered off, and like that's what we got to the ALCS. We got to almost the series before going to the World Series, and we would shit our pants every time until 2004, when for somehow the curse got broken. I didn't actually get to watch them win the World Series because during the series prior to that, I fell asleep in the 7th inning and they won out because we were down 3-0 against the Yankees, and we came back and won it in 7. I didn't get to see them because as soon as the 7th inning hit, they'd start to suck my mom and go to bed. She had to wake me up and tell me that they won. This is how bad it is being a Red Sox fan. So when I said God's most pathetic creature, I fucking meant it, because we are awful. We are terrible. I have 2 former Red Sox, but I have signatures tattooed on my body because it's like craziest thing you've ever done for a book. How about craziest thing you've ever done for an athlete? I was standing in line with my mother at a card signing event in, like, I think it was Arlington, Massachusetts. And there was a woman in front of us and It was Jonathan Papelbon and his two brothers. And one of Jonathan Papelbon's youngest brothers, I gave him my phone number. That boy was one of the most attractive specimens I've ever seen in my life. He never called. It's fine. But there was a woman in front of us who was saying how she had David Ortiz's signature on her body. And my mom looked at me and she was like, well, that's awfully crazy. And I was like, yeah, that's weird. Yeah, whatever. So she's in front of us and she goes up to Jonathan Papelbon and she's talking to him. And then all of a sudden she pulls her pant leg up and throws her leg up on the table. And there's David Ortiz's signature down the side of her leg. And my mom and I were like, all right, that's in a way that's a thing to do. That you could do that. Met Jonathan Papelbon. He signed the back of my shirt that I had custom made because he had an alternate persona when he went out to pitch. It called Cinco Ocho because his number was 58, a joke off of Chad Johnson because Chad Johnson was 85 and he was an asshole. And that was the, like, off the field, he was a really nice guy, but on the field, he was a total jerk. And Jonathan Papelbon, it was a joke of trying to do, so I had a Cinco Ocho shirt made. The next night, we went to, in Foxborough, Bronson Arroyo, who was supposed to be my husband. He just didn't know it at the time. He was performing in a concert and we were standing in line getting things signed afterwards. And I was like, I think I'm going to have him sign me and I'll go get it tattooed on tomorrow. My mom's like, are you high? What's wrong with you? And I went, oh, a lot. I don't know. It's like, just fuck it. Let's see what happens. So we get up there and I was like, I handed him a bunch of stuff to sign and I was like, would you sign me and I get it tattooed on tomorrow? And he's like, really? And I went, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, why not? So he uncaps like 7 Sharpies and grabs my arm and is like this way. And I'm looking at my mom and I'm like, he's touching me. He's touching me. Which was the best reaction to only coming second to the first time I met him when we were down in Fort Myers, Florida. And my mom was like, Bronson, will you come over and take a picture with my daughter? And he came over and put his arm around me. And I went, and he looked down at me and went, hi, how are you? And I went, do you know that you're, and I'm, I'm, so at least but by this point I could speak. So he's grabbing me and holding me and I'm like, and he's like, can I go this way? And I went, yeah. And my mom went, no. So he signed it this way across the hair and I went and got it tattooed on the next day. So crazy. It wasn't for a book, but it was the craziest thing I've ever done is getting someone else's signature and name tattooed on my body. And I did it twice because that one's Pedro Martinez. So
Funny.
I love it.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Honestly, the best communities don't happen by accident. They happen because readers show up and because somebody decides to build the room they wish existed. So before we go, a huge thank you to Michelle, not only for creating a space where readers and authors can meet face to face, but for doing it as an author herself. Because there's something special about someone who understands both sides of the table, writing the stories and creating the place where those stories find their people. And to everybody heading to Books in Charleston, author signing event this June, may your bags get heavier, your TBR get longer, and may you leave with more stories than you came with. This is Slow Burn, where we go deep, move slow, and let the fire speak.